Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GSL Code A. I am Moltrep, with me is Wolf, and we are back with you guys to pass the semi-finals of this Code A tournament. Yes, we are down to the very end here. The players who win today are going to be going to the finals for a shot at the Code S spot for winning the finals. I am really stoked about the games today, Wolf.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, we've got a TVZ, we've got GuMiho versus Curious. Curious, a guy who's shown a lot of potential in the past, but GuMiho as well. Both of these guys kind of proving themselves a little bit, but never really getting into the spotlight completely.
Yeah.
But this is their time to shine. They're one set away from the finals, and it's going to be an awesome best of 5.
Yeah. And remember, both these, all the players today actually are already in the up and down matches, so there's not as much pressure here as well. So, you know, it's going to be more like they're not going to be playing under pressure. No one's going to be like choking because they're in a harsh place or they're going to lose or anything like that. They're more just going to be trying their hardest, and they're not going to be held back by anything like that. So we're going to see some really good play from these guys today. And yeah, all 4 of the players today, GuMiho, Curious, Sage, and Oz, this is all kind of like, this is like the time for all of them to fly, man. This is like their debut for almost all of them.
Yeah, all of these
GuMiho
guys
has obviously been here around before, but hasn't really had the big success that he's looking for here.
I'd have to say all of these guys have their best chance of getting a Code S spot here, because the up and down matches are not easy. You have to win so many games, and you have to come out of that difficult group where they're playing against better players, I would say, that have fallen down from Code S. And so this is a really good opportunity for all these guys to get that #1 spot, that Code S spot. So, you know, this game, of course, is one step away from that, so they really want to care. And like you said, there's no fear of falling out of Code A or falling out of the up and down matches or anything like that. So I think these guys are going to pull out all the stops. We might see some crazy all-ins because people are they're reaching, they're trying to grab the Code S medallion.
Exactly.
I mean, they're just going to do anything to get it.
Yeah, no, like in the round of 16, when they're like, all right, I need to get this, I can't lose this, or even in the round of 32 when they're like, I could get knocked out of Code A, they're going to be playing a little more protective, they're going to be playing more guarded, but now they're like,
yeah, they're grabbing for
reaching
it, man.
out for it, they're doing that final leap, they're diving into home plate right now. And so we can see some exciting stuff. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too, man. This is going to be a great best of 5. The first one we've got, of course, is GuMiho versus Curious.
Both
We're going to take a look at our brackets here. You guys can see.
There we go.
We're going to be casting all of these matches today. GuMiho versus Curious, and then later on our PvP Oz versus Sage.
Wait. So you're saying that there's guaranteed to be a Protoss in the final of Code A?
Guarantee we will have a Protoss in the final. And barring some sort of catastrophe like a meteor hitting our studio, we will have a Protoss in the finals.
All right. Let's hope the meteor doesn't hit the studio.
Let's hope that.
I'm gonna vote against that. Yeah, GuMiho and Curious, both these guys are actually on fire right now. Like, both of them are just playing extremely well. Curious is 9-1 in his last 10 games. GuMiho's 8-2 in his last 10 games.
And one of those is beating Nesty in WCG.
Yeah,
so
man.
Look out for that guy.
Yeah, GuMiho was dominating the WCG pretty hard.
Yeah, man. And he's got some great TVZ as seen. I mean, he beat Nesty with mech play on Tal'Darim Altar. That's no easy feat.
Yeah. Yeah, before
that's pretty tough.
Yeah, that's actually like impossible to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how he managed that, to be honest. But that's pretty crazy. Curious, of course, has been winning a lot of games as well. Let's go and check out some highlight videos of these guys.
자, 들어갔죠? 써있던 곳에 뿜었어요. 아니, 이거 지금 초반에 정도가 안 됩니다. 자, 맹독충 어떻게 할까요? 자, 공을 선수 볼까요? 야!
맹독충이 없어서 이거 상계도 사실 필요가 없거든요.
그렇죠.
제일 신날 때예요.
복잡하죠?
야, 재밌다.
네.
그래서
계속해서 일벌레.
이걸 막아도 이걸 일벌레 피해를 감수를 해야 되는 건데.
마지막 공격이 될 수 있을 것 같은데요.
하지만 점막 바깥쪽이기 때문에 맹독충 붙기 어렵고요.
네, 추가 병력도 굉장히 많이 담겨있습니다.
좀 부족해 보이긴 한데. 하지만 저글링 뒤쪽에서 추가되어서 오고 있고요. 미리 상계를 해놓고.
한 번에 일단 징계모치 사용해주면서
이 병력 버티면은 살려놔야 됩니다. 게다가 징계모치 자체가 경장가백에 36 기본 확장이다 정찰 주셨고요. 해병 상계 좋아요.
상계까지 컨트롤해주고 있는 거예요.
정말 잘했어요 방금.
자, 상계
너무 많은데요 일단은.
자, 시작됐습니다. 상계 다시 한 번.
뭐 해병이 너무 잘 찢어가지고.
자, 함께
예,
안 들어가고 있습니다. 고병재 선수.
붙었죠.
병력 차이가 좀 극심한 것으로 보입니다. 일단은 자, 한번 달려들거든요. 병력은 잘 펼쳐놓긴 한 것 같은데요. 김승철 선수.
예, 그래도 공선전차 수가 워낙 차이가 나기 때문에
그렇습니다. 약간 시간이 더 필요한 고병재 선수인데요.
우려선은 고병재가 조금 더 많아요.
엄청난 병력이 떨어지고 있어요. 고병재 선수.
게다가 업그레이드 질에서 크게 차이 나기 때문에
네.
똑같이
내고 있고요.
업그레이드가 너무 잘 됐거든요.
There he is.
There's GuMiho.
GuMiho. Man, he tore some fools up
Look
on
at
his
that.
way here.
2-0, 2-0, 2-0.
Yeah, and notice two of those players, Kyrix and Monster, are both very good Zerg players. So he's been beating some Zergs on his way here.
Yeah.
He's just been a monster lately.
He has,
Not
man.
not MVP monster. but
He's such a
been-
monster, he takes out monsters. That's what he does. He's
what he
like,
does.
we're equals. I'm actually just going to take you out.
More monstrous than Monster,
Yeah.
and more StarCraft than SC, and more Kyrix than I don't know about that one. Never mind.
Well, remember, Kyrix was a former Code S player.
Yeah.
And like MC, has fallen out completely.
Yeah, man. So there he is, the Towel Terran
Towel
himself.
Terran, he's wiping his hands.
I really don't understand why he uses the towel to control his mouse. It doesn't seem like he gets as good a grip on it.
I'm not 100% sure. By the looks of how he's used it, just when I've seen him using it, it looks like he normally likes to use the towel to wipe sweat off of his hands, and maybe it was just one of his habits that he got where he just kept the towel in his hand while he was playing and got used to it. But we're going to take a look at how Curious got here.
저글링 먼저
이대로 끝날 수도 있습니다. 끝날 수도 있어요.
저까지 공격해주는 이원표 선수.
이게 바로 이원표 선수의 저거 이득 보는 자폭이냐?
들어가죠. 안쪽에서
차이가 나는데요. 예, 이건 초반에 피해 많이 봅니다. 일단 권태현 선수가 아직도 멀었어요. 저글링 나오려면은
기다리죠. 마음이 애가 탑니다. 지금
이거 일본에 지금 싸우면 안 됩니다.
지금 안 됩니다. 이거 저글링가 싸우고 있어요.
회병
피해 많이 입는데요.
여기서는 다른 적과 다르게
건설로만
맹독충 자체는 그렇게까지 많이 안 눌러요. 그래서 정말 잘 싸워주고 있죠. 뮤탈리스크가 해병을 압도하고 있습니다.
오, 저글링 부대 한 번에
우려선 없으니까.
야, 이거 개별된
우려선이 없어서.
자, 저글링
안 되고요.
확실하게 잡아가는 움직임 이원표 선수.
야, 너무 막강합니다. 지금 9시
그렇죠.
멀티를 지키기 위해서 계속해서 쇼 선수가 병력을 진출해보지만 그때마다 막히고 있어요.
부화장 가져가고 있거든요. 그러면서 맹독충 둥지. 저글링들.
네, 이건 저글링 빼게 되면 여왕을 못 지키고요.
그렇습니다. 파고듭니다.
야, 가시촉수 한기 일단.
지켜주는군요. 정승희 선수. 여왕 파괴됐습니다. 왔는데요.
정세현 선수가 수비용 맹독충 한 개만 준비했었는데
여왕 파괴됐어요. 이 병력이 굉장히 중요한 정승희 선수 수영해가면서 막아내는 이원표 선수입니다.
연습 너무 좋아요.
그렇습니다.
맹독충이 달라붙을 저글링이 없어요 지금은. 그렇죠.
Well, you can see there, Curious has quite good ZVZ. He took out Sho as well on his way here.
Yep.
So took him out 2-0. Sho and GuMiho are definitely on different calibers of play, but you can see Terran's not a big challenge for him.
Yep. No, definitely not. Unfortunately for Curious, he hasn't really been practicing much versus Terran recently.
Yeah.
That match versus Sho was basically the only match he's had versus Terran in a while. He had like a game in the GSTL against ASD, but that was not something that he prepared for.
Right.
So, yeah, he might not be quite as prepared for this situation, you know, as opposed to GuMiho, who's been playing Zergs left, right, and center for the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely going to come into play here, and I think this is still going to be a close match. I think the style that we've seen from Curious is oftentimes just very defensive. He's a very patient player, and you can see that in his play. And what GuMiho likes to do all the time is do really early timing attacks, or sometimes often gimmicky things that you very rarely see, like we saw Cloak Banshees in those highlight videos, for example. And those are the kind of things that catch a lot of players off guard, but not so much Curious.
Yeah, he's a very strong player. I think he's, I don't know if he's quite an ST, but I think he's probably going to be more of a challenge than the other Zergs that GuMiho's faced in Code Ace thus far.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Curious even in the Code A qualifiers. We cast some of those games, some of his games in the Code qualifiers, and he was just really good.
Yeah.
Really immaculate play. So we're going to see here, the first map is going to be Bellshear Beach. They're going to move on to Crossfire, Zerg's favorite map. It's going to help Curious out. Daybreak is going to be map number 3, and if it goes to it, set 4 will be Dual Site, and set 5 will be Antigua Shipyard. So we're going to find out what happens there. Hopefully, I think Curious is hoping to close it out before Game 5. Doesn't probably want to play on Antigua Shipyard against a Terran player. But we're going to get started here on Bellshear Beach in just a moment. Game number 1 to decide who goes to the finals of Code A. Everything's on the line for the finals and Pride itself. We're going to find out in just a moment who's going to take Game 1 here at the GSL Code A. Go! All right. Over here at the top left-hand corner of the map, Bellshear Beach is our Terran player. He has been owning Zergs left and right in Code A thus far. Can he do it again?
GuMiho.
There we go. There's a little Marine figurine cheering him on. And over here at the bottom right-hand corner is his Zerg opponent. Can he bring it out against GuMiho? Curious has been playing really well lately, but we haven't seen him against Terrans, so it's basically going to be up to, is he going to be able to bring the level of play he's been bringing to his Protoss and Zerg game to this? Hey, Josh.
Look, it's Choya Foyu, a.k.a. Epixo Choya. Just giving a shout-out to Josh, great manager of Epix Open.
Awesome. It's kind of funny to see Choya in the audience with a cheerful.
Choya is always great about coming.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not unusual to see him here, that's for sure.
Well, right now we have what appears to be a 1 barracks expand coming out for GuMiho, and Curious going for hatchery first. Pretty common to see on this map. Now, we talked about the maps a little bit earlier, and we do have, of course, our first map is Bellshear. And then the later maps, Dual Site and Antigua, are really going to be maps that GuMiho would like to play on, but won't be able to play on necessarily. So in this case, he's going to have to play on Crossfire after this, no matter what happens. And in this case, he's playing against they're two Zerg-favored maps, essentially, right off the bat. So it's going to make the first 2 games very difficult for GuMiho.
He actually caused that barracks to slow down a little bit, forced the SCV to cancel off of barracks for a second.
He had to use the halt command.
Is that what it's called?
I believe it's called halt, yeah.
Halt building. And he really doesn't want to let that drone into his base. Doesn't lower the depot, even to try and save the SCV. Other SCV is going to get in and spot
upgrade complete.
Curious's base.
He's going to see that he went hatchery first and then pool before, or gas before pool, rather. And the command center goes down at the natural. It's pretty safe to do on this map, especially with the new change where there's a second ramp. There's no second entrance either.
Yeah, they changed the map not that long ago. There used to be a couple different ways into the natural, and now there's only the one. It's a wide ramp, but it's still just one ramp, so it makes it a lot easier to hold off. A lot more difficult to just come in the other side, pressure different directions.
Well, right now, GuMiho is moving 2 Marines down towards the base of Curious. He's got a 3rd one rallied as well, and Curious does not have much answers for this right now. In fact, he's got 4 Zerglings out. He's making 2 more, but with good Marine micro, he might end up making some extra Zerglings if he loses these first few.
Depends on how much more pressure he decides to put on. Actually, Holt catches him in the middle of the map, and that was not the best place for Curious to engage because now his queens are out.
Yeah.
And so yeah, losing a couple Zerglings, now he has to produce 6 more Zerglings just in
3
case.
less drones.
Just in case there's more Marines coming that he doesn't know about. Yeah, so that's 3 less drones.
Gotta be careful about things like that. That's why it's a really good idea if you're a Terran player like GuMiho to send out your first few Marines and put a little bit of pressure on. Because at the highest levels of play, Zerg players just try to get away with making the fewest number of Zerglings as possible.
Yeah.
Well, the factory is finishing up, so is the reactor on the barracks, so we're going to see reactor to Hellions coming out to follow this up. And, of course, the command center's finishing up the orbital. He's got a bunker up, and this is going to be the phase of the game where both players kind of slowly tech up. We're going to I'm going to be excited to see whether or not Curious wants to take a faster third base or whether or not he wants to make a macro hatchery instead. This map is somewhat easily harassable for Terrans at the third base, depending on how Terran plays it out.
Yeah, the third base is a little difficult to get over to. You have to go out of your second. Oh, and he's attacking with some Zerglings.
Deciding to try to break this bunker, and this actually might be worth it. He's going to kill the Marines inside, and the SCVs will be exposed.
Wow. That's, I didn't actually expect that at all. He's only going to get one SCV, and then the Hellions are going to come out, although they have boxed in a corner. He might get one of the Hellions. No, he loads the depot, saves the Hellions.
Did get some additional scouting and killed those Marines, but yeah, I'm not sure if that was entirely worth it.
That was interesting.
It was an okay trade to get those Marines, because now, of course, there's only one Marine out for GuMiho, and having those Marines to supplement the Hellion pressure is something you really want to have. Plus, he's going to repair those Hellions now that were damaged.
Yeah, Hellions, if he was going for any kind of early pressure, if there's one Spine Crawler, actually, has he made a Spine Crawler?
He's making one right now.
He did make one Spine Crawler. Hellions can't kill Spine Crawlers. It's just a glitch in the game where Hellions just, it's physically impossible. Well, not actually, but it's so difficult for them to do so. And hold that thought, Zerglings are getting roasted. This is another Hellion. Anyway, point being, you need Marines if you're going to try and break through that front if there's a Spine Crawler there.
And Curious is doing a great job of scouting with these Zerglings. He's been able to hold the watchtowers quite heavily. He's continuing to scout with Overlords. His creep spread is amazing.
Is ridiculous. I was just noticing that too. He's got like a dozen creep spreads on the map already.
We're 8 minutes into the game, and he's already spread his creep all the way to the watchtowers. He's getting a Baneling Nest right now to prepare for additional aggression, and has decided not to make a macro hatchery, but instead to go for a lair. He's getting his evolution chamber up right now as well. The Hellions are continuing to control the middle of the map, but the Zerglings are always avoiding them, trying to run around to the other side to see what kind of composition he really is going to be dealing with into the mid-game here. Catching some Marines as well. Zerglings will be taken out, but an okay trade there to get those Marines.
Yeah, there's plenty of Hellions there, though, so the Zerglings get barbecued pretty quickly. And he is getting Baneling speed. Finally getting some Banelings down.
Hellion's doing a lot of damage to this Queen. Will they try to advance up the ramp? Gets a Queen, does lose one Hellion. Checks for the third base, sees that it is in fact not there.
Now, I'm curious. The reason why he's got such good creep spread is he had a third Queen specifically for spreading creep, so he's not going to miss any injects because of that Queen loss or anything.
Exactly. Now, there is a Spire on the way, Baneling speed and +1 melee attacks all on the way as well. Meanwhile, GuMiho is taking a third command center, adding a reactor, making medevacs and Marines right now, but, however, has not started siege tank production. And the Overseer sees it all.
Sees over everything. Changeling's like looking left and right. Shifty eyes. Don't look at me. Oh, well, he knows it. Okay.
Changelings usually don't last very long.
No, they usually don't last very long.
They're not very good liars, actually. Maybe in Heart of the Swarm, the Zerg will teach the Changelings to be better liars, so then the Terran army drags them and tries to bring them with them, they'll follow.
That'd be a good idea. Well, that's what I usually do, is pin them onto the opponent's army so they follow, so it looks like they're one of the squad.
Yeah, if you use move command, you can do that. Now, here's another attack from GuMiho. He's going to try to get rid of some of his creep spread, and he's not really tearing too much into it because there's so much...
Whoa! Banelings! Oh, epic Banelings! I didn't see if he didn't micro or if he actually just got a good surround with the Zerglings, but either way, the Banelings landed on the entire group of Marines. All of them die. More Banelings landed on the Hellions, and now GuMiho's in trouble, man. He has no units in his base.
Yeah, he's lost control of the map. There are mutas on the way. Right now, there are already 8 mutalists out. He's making one more, so he's going to be up to 9 mutas here. And with that mutalist count, it's going to be difficult for GuMiho to safely take a third with how few units he has now. He only has about 12 Marines out. He would have had a lot more if the attack had not failed so miserably. And this Viking is not going to last very long.
Nope, Viking's going to die. Wow, so this is not the same GuMiho that beat Nesty the other day.
No, it is not. Well, some SCVs will be taken out here by these mutas, and he also forced the stem. He's going to get out of there with little to no damage at all, actually, losing no mutas. Not even losing that many hit points. And there are 3 lone SCVs in the middle of the map. Yeah, I'm not sure what their story is.
They are actually just part of a suicide cult. They want to die. So they're like, all right, when GuMiho's not looking, we're going to leave the Terran base and just go die in the middle of the map.
Well,
they They got their wish.
Too bad for those SCVs. Those Zerglings were in a similar mindset, man. I don't know what they were doing. Well, he's going to damage his Commander. Clearly, GuMiho wants to take the gold base. The gold base is such a good thing to take on this map for Terran. It's like the landmark base that if you can get that base up, get a planetary there, or hold that location, you control the center of the map, and you have a lot of additional mining.
He's actually going to put an orbital there, though. He's not going to have that planetary, which, yeah, it's going to mean he's not going to have that as like a defensive point to use strategically to fall back to, which is a little bit dangerous. I guess he can set up siege tanks there at least.
Well, these mutas are kind of getting cornered here. They're trying to find a target before they get out of there, but nice control by GuMiho, just chasing them off, not really taking any damage. Losing an SCV, does cancel that depot.
That was pretty good. That was a go-to cancel. These Marines are going to die, though. There's not quite enough for the turret. He's going to be able to fend off those mutas, though, with mass repair. He actually canceled the depot as the glaive worms were flying towards it to kill it.
Yeah, man. He absorbed a shot.
Basically, yeah.
Well, right now, 2 Evo chambers are going. The harassment continues.
Oh, man. So many mules. Killed off a few SCVs and 2 mules.
For upgrades, right now we've got +2 flyer attacks. Well, he is just not going to stop harassing that base. I'm just trying to talk about those upgrades. He just doesn't want to stop, man.
Right. Well, I mean, he got a really big advantage. And so as long as he keeps harassing, even if he loses mutas, this whole time he's getting a 4th. He's droning up his 3rd. He's getting tons of lings and banelings. He's getting all of his upgrades. Which, what were you going to say about his
He's
upgrades?
got +2 flyer weapons already on the way. He's got +2 melee attacks on the way as well. He's making 48 Zerglings right now. He's totally got GuMiho where he wants him. He's controlling the entire map. Now he's going to get a little bit caught with his Zerglings, unfortunately, though. But the Speedlings get inside, but where are they going to go now? We'll kill a few SCVs.
Yeah, he actually just wasted all those Zerglings.
Yeah, now losing a few mutas. Curious kind of messing up this attack quite a bit.
Yeah, that was... Well, he can afford those Zerglings. He's not, like, behind or anything, but that was a loss that he didn't need to take. He just lost about 40 Zerglings for free.
And the orbital here is going to be under attack yet again. There are turrets well placed here, but the mutas microing against them. He actually is going to go for these turrets.
Nice.
And most likely will follow this up by going into the main base as well. It's a great place to harass.
Forces a stim on GuMiho's entire army. And you know what? GuMiho's sick of it. He's like, I don't even care anymore.
Yeah,
I am going for the kill now.
It's the going point. It's time to go.
Yep.
He's killing a lot of creep here. And so Banelings are morphing in desperation, but they're not going to finish. Oh, just barely didn't hit any of those Marines. The firepower is just too much. He didn't even split them, but the firepower just cut down those Banelings too quickly. Nice splitting here, though.
Now, GuMiho is stimming his army a lot, and so all of his units are really low health with very few medevacs overhead.
Yeah,
he's got some siege tanks there, and Curious is just going to go for the counterattack.
Well, there's a lot of units back at home as well. If he can get behind those depots, he should be okay. He can't get behind the depots, though. Tank siege up, and the mutas are going to clean up the majority of these Marines. But Curious is still in trouble. The forces at his natural have broken through. They're going into the main base now.
He knows he just has to survive a little bit of time for those Banelings to come in from the side. And is he going to be able to do it in time, though? These Marines are killing all of his buildings in the meantime. Where are the Banelings going? The Banelings are deciding to go for the counter. No, he can't decide where to send the Banelings.
His Banelings are way too indecisive here. He's going to attack Marines. That could have even been lifted if they were controlled better. And now, I think Curious is actually going to lose this game because the Mutalist count is just not high enough anymore. Yes. Right now, the supply is 100 to 93, but GuMiho is down 40 workers, so the army supply, of course, is much larger for GuMiho in this case.
Yeah, he's got a much larger army. He doesn't have hardly any SCVs left, is the thing, so if it turns into a longer game of any kind, then Curious is going to be able to survive off of his 2 bases in the bottom left. And now he's actually... Curious is just camping that army. He's actually holding his own choke. He's holding GuMiho inside of his own main base. And he says, all right, if you come out of there, I want to send my Banelings in, so you actually can't leave my base.
2 spawning pools being made right now during this as well. Just in case, man. Also remaking another hatchery. And at this point, he's going to try to harass these units, but there's so many Marines here, it's going to be very difficult for him to make anything work. And if GuMiho is smart and patient, he will be able to break out the main. In fact, he's already killed 3 tumors. He's getting closer and closer to breaking out of there. If he can break out of there, Curious isn't going to have much of an answer. And because he has less workers, that's kind of a problem. But at the same time, he has mules. He's still got a decent amount of minerals left as natural. He's okay. And Curious is going to have to beat this army somehow, or he's going to lose this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be tough to crack that army. And
the Mutas spot the units in the dropship, but they can't react quickly enough, and they all are landed. Now GuMiho is just going to get his forces in a really good spot to engage this army. He may even bring some from his main so he can attack from two sides.
Can't
gets another
fire.
tumor.
He, Curious knows that every time he shows his mutas, GuMiho stims, so he's been doing that a lot, so he's trying to keep GuMiho's forces at low health.
And now's the time, though, for GuMiho to move out of the main with his main army. And at the other side, he's, of course, at the gold base, is going to consolidate his force to one strong group of units that can basically end Curious. Curious is going to go for one last counterattack, though, by the looks of things. A lot of units going to counterattack. The Mutas are warded, but GuMiho has spotted this army. He's actually engaging it in the best way possible here.
He has healed up all of his army now, so GuMiho is in really good shape. Baneling's morphing in.
Yeah, 22 more Banelings morphing. Curious is just trying to play Ring Around the Rosie here. He's actually just running around trying to buy time.
That's what he needs to do, is just buy time at this point. GuMiho is almost mined out, so if Curious can buy any more time, he'll start to get more of a production advantage.
Oh,
here comes those Marines.
So many Banelings.
Tank's
the majority
not
of them,
up,
yeah, the majority of those Banelings not hitting as efficiently as they could have, though. Another huge speedling counterattack, but there's so many units here, this might not be the right time to attack.
Oh no! Oh, hits a few Marines, but just not enough. Curious just cannot get enough units out to actually deal with this army. He doesn't have any infestors, he doesn't really have anything to deal with the tanks either.
This is not looking good for Curious. This attack may end him. Nice control on the Muse, he's attacking the units at the back, the reinforcements, but at the same time, here we go! And the Marines do split quite well against that, and now Curious is in trouble. He's got very few Banelings left. The last Banelings do fall, and what answer does he have to this? Not a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, if that had been a flank attack, then maybe it would have been able to pull it off, but he just didn't have enough units. GuMiho streaming into Curious's, I don't even know what to call this. It's not an expansion, it's kind of his new main. Killing his lair. Again, Baneling's coming in, he splits pretty well. Can he clean up the mutas? Yes! He has enough to clean up the mutas.
Just barely.
Banelings are just waiting there. Is he? Oh, he's going to trap them. The Banelings stay put, though. Instead of going in while the Marines are trapped, and he loses most of his Zerglings.
But he
does clean it up.
He cleans it up. GuMiho has a huge Marine force, though, streaming across the map, and his medevacs are going to try to rejoin with that. Is he going to split well here? Targeting down Banelings. He does split well enough.
Wow.
Or more so, he targets the Banelings. No splitting required. Yeah, and a few more Banelings being morphed here. GuMiho may have overstepped his boundary. He's going to be very brave here.
Almost in, and he surrounds with the drones.
And some speedlings surrounding these units as well. GuMiho may actually be cleaned up here. Will Curious hold this? It looks like he will.
Whoa!
Has Curious done it? Right now, the worker count is 23 to 41, of course, in Curious's favor. There are 2 medevacs and 10 Marines out. Otherwise, for Curious, there are 3 Banelings and 3 Mutas and 28 Zerglings. I think he's done it.
I think he's done it, man.
He's got 3 mining bases now.
The key is that he broke that army. He killed all those tanks. So that's why we're seeing all these Banelings actually landing, is because the tanks are no longer there to buffer them.
Yeah, and he can't afford the tanks, man. He doesn't have enough mining.
Exactly. GuMiho's almost mined out. You can. We almost got a shot of it. He's only got like half the patches left in his natural.
Yeah, very few patches left. His main base has literally 2 patches left with 75 and 20 minerals left, respectively. He is in a lot of trouble.
Floating his main orbital, probably going to try and desperately move it out to the gold base, trying to get some more mining.
That's his only hope. But Curious knows that's his plan, and he's actually going to be just constantly on top of that location. And the army of GuMiho is never going to be enough now. He actually just split his units up too much and never microed his Marines well enough without the tanks to really end Curious fully. He never completed the circle, man.
Exactly. Yeah, he microed away from the Banelings, but he didn't really split to like really mitigate the blasts when they did fall down. Here comes the counterattack.
Effective drop, but here's a huge counterattack here, and there is 1 siege tank. The Banelings getting a lot of Marines. The Marines of GuMiho trying to find a place to land.
Oh, and two Banelings kill almost all of his SCVs piled up on one mineral patch. Oh, that is just brutal. The drop is doing damage, but Curious still has 2 bases at the bottom. I don't think he even needs that base to finish this game.
I don't think so either, but that hatchery is starting to get low. He may target it down. And the Mutas come over. He's going to try to engage the Mutas, but a chance to use helping these Mutas out. He is going to clean up that attack. Another group of Marines coming in here. Those hatchery is extremely low. And Curious is going to lose his hatchery at the very least. But like you were saying, is that hatchery even necessary at this point? And I don't think so. These Marines even make it cleaned up. There's so many units here, and it looks like he will clean up these Marines. It's now 88 supply to 26, and Curious has absolutely done it. There's no question in my mind anymore. He has actually held this, and he will win this game. Yeah,
GuMiho has 12 Harvesters. He's about 300 minerals per minute. He just jumped up as he dropped those mules, but he loses the mules. GG! Curious has defeated GuMiho in game number 1. And that is actually amazing. There were several points there where I was like, oh, Curious is dead. GuMiho has this game in the bag. And Curious somehow, just through some desperate defense, came back, held it off, and returned for the win.
Well, Curious was way ahead that entire game. And GuMiho just said, you know what, I'm tired of this harassment. He reached what I always refer to as the going point, where he was like, all right, well, this time I can't turn around. I'm just going to go. And that decision was actually the smartest decision he could have made in that situation, where if he had turned around again, he would have just lost SPs, and the Mulas count would have gotten even larger, and things would have fallen out of control very quickly. So, I mean, he almost made his attack work. He just had to end the game, and he moved back a few times, I think too many, and his Marine micro was not the best, and most importantly, he never kept track of his siege tanks. Curious was always picking off the siege tanks at the back of his Mutas.
Oh,
his Mutas were always catching reinforcements. He always had his Mutas catching every rallied unit that wasn't on attack move. He just killed it. No matter what it was, siege tank or Marine or medevac, he killed it, man.
Yeah, he was really good about that. Really good about the counterattacking. Some of his counterattacks, Curious's counterattacks, just failed miserably, but at the very least, they were keeping pressure on GuMiho, so he couldn't reunite his army with his main army or anything like that, and slowly picked it apart. But yeah, I think it was really smart for him to just reach that going point and just say, all right, you know what, I'm not defending this harassment. I'm just going to go. You're going to have to turn around, basically. And he did end up defending the attack with his reinforcements, so that's why the counterattack did so much damage, but could not quite finish the deal.
Couldn't seal the deal.
Luckily, Curious made 2 spawning pools extra, so he was able to keep up his Zergling production.
Sometimes in those situations, it's good to make 2 spawning pools, because
if
you lose all of your spawning pools, you actually just can't make Zerglings, and that's the unit that you need. It's your core unit. It probably wasn't intentional, but it could have been, because that extremely mobile Terran army, the Marines that were dropping everywhere and running around, if he had lost the spawning pool again, he would have lost the game, because he needed that production to make Banelings. And that was a very scary situation, but Curious showed that he can actually play in a scrappy situation. He can play Ring Around the Rosie, play musical chairs. He was going around the middle of Belshire Beach just over and over again, going around in a circle. And GuMiho didn't actually just go and attack. He was like, oh, I'll just play this game with you. And he's like, well, now I have 3 mining bases again, and you are out of money.
It was a game of duck, duck, goose to the death.
Yeah, man.
And Curious found the empty spot and sat down first.
Can you play 2-player Duck Duck Goose?
No,
Is that possible?
I don't think you can.
It's like, duck, duck, and then you're like, oh, he will never know it. Then you're like, Chris Goose, and then he's like, and he gets up. Then where do you go? Do you just sit down really fast?
I think you just sit back down again really fast. I don't know.
You're like giggling, like, he'll never suspect I'll pick him. You say Goose? That's what was going on, man.
That's exactly what happened.
And GuMiho he kept running around the middle of the map. It's Belshire Beach. So actually a really good strategy for Belshire Beach is to constantly keep your opponent's army away from your base. It's a relatively large map, but the center area has that huge set of trees where the towers are, and that's a huge obstacle to navigate around.
Yeah. So yes, we're going to get started in Game 2 here in just a moment, I believe. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, there they are. Yeah, and Curious did really well. Whenever GuMiho would come down the left side of the map, Curious would go up the right side of the map. Say, all right, well, I'm going to draw you back now. But the next map is going to be Crossfire. And
so Standard Edition.
Standard Edition. I thought SE was special edition.
I don't know, actually.
I don't know either.
I think it must be special edition, because if it were standard, there wouldn't need to
there wouldn't be any letters.
There wouldn't need to be an add-on there at the end.
I don't know. Maybe it's Shin Crossfire.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. We're going to find out in just a moment, though, who's going to take game number 2. GuMiho has to win this game to get back in the match. It's going to be difficult on Crossfire. We're going to find out in just a second.
Go!